There are some television shows that don't just play in your living room, they linger in your memory, like fragments of a dream you can't fully recall. Sapphire and Steel is one of those shows. It aired on ITV between 1979 and 1982 in 6 assignments, each unfolding a story of strange disruptions in time and space. Watching it was never entirely comfortable. It wasn't a thriller in the usual sense, nor a conventional horror series. There were no villains to defeat, no neatly resolved mysteries. The threat was something older, something abstract, the disruption of time itself. Sapphire and Steel, the mysterious operatives who gave the show its title, seemed almost mythic. They appeared without explanation, carried out their work in silence and authority, and left behind a sense of unease that lingered long after the credits rolled. They were figures you could not fully understand, and that was the point. Even now, for those who remember, the images stick. The flickering studio lighting, the eerie corridors, the strange artifacts that seem to hum with menace, the long, unbroken shots of characters standing still or moving slowly through spaces that felt slightly off kilter. It is not a show that was meant to be comfortably digestible. It was meant to unsettle, and it succeeded. Sapphire and Steel was produced by ATV for ITV at a time when British commercial television was willing to take risks. The series consists of 6 narrative assignments. The elemental pair was Sapphire, played by Joanna Lumley, and Steel, played by David McCallum. In assignment 1, they are assisted by Lead, played by Val Pringle, a supporting elemental who helps manage particularly difficult disturbances in time. Later assignments introduce Silver, played by David Collins, another specialist operative who appears when events demand additional intervention. The premise is deceptively simple. Sapphire, Steel, and occasionally other elementals investigate disturbances in the fabric of time. These disturbances might appear anywhere. They rarely follow any conventional logic. From the very first moment of each assignment, the opening voiceover announces, in that hauntingly formal tone, Sapphire and Steel have been assigned. It sets the stage like a ritual, immediately signalling that these are no ordinary visitors and that the events to follow are beyond human comprehension. The production was entirely studio-bound, shot on video, often in ordinary locations that, through lighting, sound and camera work, were transformed into unsettling, otherworldly spaces. This limitation forced creativity, making the ordinary uncanny and the everyday strange in ways modern CGI-heavy productions rarely replicate. What set Sapphire and Steel apart, and what continues to make it fascinating decades later, was its strangeness. The series was not interested in character backstory or emotional arcs. Sapphire and Steel arrive fully formed. They never explain themselves, their motivations are opaque, their reasoning often inscrutable. The threats they face are abstract, almost metaphysical. Consider assignment 1, which begins with a seemingly ordinary house. A disturbance in time manifests subtly at first. Objects move, sounds are displaced, and the inhabitants begin to sense something is wrong. There is no villain, only a slow, inexorable manipulation of reality that threatens those inside. From the very first frame, the opening title sequence reinforces the ritualistic weight of the mission. Sapphire and Steel have been assigned. The words echo like a mantra, framing the story in formal, undeniable terms. The second assignment unfolds around a disused railway station, where time seems fractured. Visitors are caught in impossible temporal loops. Later assignments continue this pattern, with photographs that refuse to remain fixed, rooms that distort time, and objects that seem to carry a will of their own. The effect is daring, almost reckless by modern standards. ITV could take these risks because there wasn't a rigid blueprint for what worked on television. The series trusts its viewers to sit in discomfort, to puzzle, and to linger, rather than to be spoon-fed explanations. The narrative structure itself is unconventional. While each assignment is framed with a beginning, middle, and end, the emphasis is never on plot alone. Dialogue is formal, understated, and often cryptic. Characters pause mid-sentence or leave thoughts unfinished. Scenes may extend for minutes without overt action, leaving viewers to feel the passage of time and the abnormality in the environment. One of the most unsettling aspects is the combination of the mundane and the strange. These ordinary settings become arenas of existential threat. The familiarity of the environment juxtaposed with alien anomalies creates a subtle but potent tension. The series also makes the audience complicit. When a character notices a temporal disturbance, the show does not immediately explain it. Instead, the camera observes, the silence stretches, and we, like the characters, are left to confront the anomaly. This slow revelation amplifies unease and gives the show a hypnotic quality. The show's production context shaped its distinctive atmosphere. Shot primarily in studio with limited sets and props, the series relied heavily on lighting, sound, and camera work to evoke otherworldliness. Shadows were elongated, corridors felt unnaturally long, and silence was as loud as any scream. Special effects were minimal. A door that refuses to open, a window that refracts light strangely, a clock that ticks backward. Visual clues like this rely on suggestion rather than spectacle. The audience's imagination filled in the gaps, making what was unseen often far more disturbing than what could be shown. Sound design was equally important. In Assignment 2, the echoing of footsteps and a train's whistle stretched into unnatural space, creating disorientation. In Assignment 1, silence punctuates dialogue, forcing attention on subtle movements and expressions. Every production limitation was turned into a tool, making the ordinary unsettling. It is perhaps surprising that a show so abstract and unsettling could find a place in mainstream television. Sapphire and Steel demonstrates a period in ITV history when commercial television could experiment freely, testing audience patience and perception. The lingering sense of unease, combined with the formal, almost ritualistic behaviour of the elementals, makes the series memorable decades later. Unlike conventional thrillers, where tension is relieved by resolution, Sapphire and Steel leaves a residual discomfort. Even after the story ends, viewers are left asking, how did time fracture here? Could it happen elsewhere? What do Sapphire and Steel truly want? For audiences at the time, the show occupied a unique space. It was mainstream enough to reach millions, yet its atmosphere, pacing, and abstraction placed it at the edge of what was considered conventional television. For those revisiting it now, it remains haunting precisely because it refuses easy categorization. Looking back, Sapphire and Steel serves as a reminder of what television could attempt when there were fewer conventions and fewer formulas for guaranteed success. It is a study in restraint, ambiguity, and the power of suggestion. The series trusts viewers to sit with that discomfort, to feel time's malleability, and to confront the unknown without immediate resolution. It shows that daring storytelling does not require large budgets, complex effects, or spectacle. It thrives in liminal spaces, the pause between lines, the shadow at the edge of the frame, the unexplained silence that stretches long enough to make the ordinary profoundly alien. Sapphire and Steel lingers because it refuses to comfort or close neatly. It reminds us that television can be an experiment, a probe into perception and unease, and that a well-crafted series can be remembered not for what it resolved, but for what it dared to leave unresolved. In an era when so much television feels designed to reassure, Sapphire and Steel remains quietly radical. Even now, it unsettles, intrigues, and lingers in memory. The ghostly echo of a time when the small screen could truly feel unknowable. So thank you very much for listening. It's very much appreciated. I hope you've enjoyed reminiscing about Sapphire and Steel. If you feel the urge, give us a like and a subscribe, but that's entirely up to you. Do what you like, and I will see you next time with something else. Bye!